All right, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Where Hope Remains podcast. I'm your host, Mariah, and I'm being joined by my cousin, but also my guest today, Angelo Cheflo Foster. He is a wonderful person, and by himself, he's a chef. He has been on his own journey throughout this past couple of years that we'll get into a little bit. But I just want him to introduce himself a little bit. Go ahead and tell the people a little bit about you.
Hey, first of all, thank you for having me on. I really am excited about being on here. My name is Angelo, but I do go by Chef Lo. I'm a personal chef, celebrity chef. I've done stuff for Amazon, done stuff for a couple of celebrities. I recently did I can like to call it a community baby shower for one of the Dallas Cowboys players for his foundation. And I'm also a baker and a full-time network marketer as well.
Nice, nice. Man of many talents and many hats. So this so this episode is a little touchy. It's something both of you and I have experienced. And it's something that people I feel like don't talk about, especially you growing up in a faith community, me growing up in a faith community. I feel like it's a little bit of a taboo topic. And
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like we can just open up this conversation and to people who are in a faith-based community and those who are not either. But just to open up this conversation, because people always tell you like you need to get married. Don't be living together, sleeping together, but you need to get married. Okay, cool. But then when you get married, they're like, well, you can't divorce. You just can't divorce. But nobody talks about if you happen to have to go through a divorce or if that's the best course of action to eliminate a lot of safety issues, concerns, or just poor relationship management where there's a lot of frustration or anger and it's not a healthy situation. And so, if you don't mind, let's talk about a little bit prior to divorce. What was your relationship like? And then what was your engagement like? And then kind of walk us through each little stage.
All right. First, I like to take accountability. So, were there some things that are overlooked? Yes, we all do. So, to sit here and say that everybody catches everything, to me, that's just a flat out lie. There's some stuff you do look over, but a lot of times it's stuff that either y'all are currently working on or a lot of people put on a lot of good fronts.
Mm-hmm.
So, not to sit here and try to paint, as if I was perfect in that marriage because I wasn't, but I wasn't the problem either. And oftentimes, especially in society, it's always the man's fault. Even if it was him or not, it's always his fault. Even when proven innocent, it's still his fault. Well, you should have done this, you should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that was a very big challenge right there. But before him, we did the marriage counseling. We did the dating for a while. We didn't move in with one another until we knew that we wanted to be married, so we didn't do any of that. Did we wait before marriage to have sex? No, we tried. We tried, but then that was also one of those things where before marriage, sex life was great, but
Mm-hmm.
with that and other things, it's something about when that ring gets on the finger, and two people say "I do." It's like people turn to different people. So
Yeah,
that was a big challenge too. It's like I got a lot of half truths too.
yeah. A lot of people say you always meet their representative, but I'm like, at what
Mm-hmm.
point in time does the representative sit down and the real person show up?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, sometimes that is during a marriage, no matter how long. How long did you guys date?
Well, about a year and a half, two
Yeah.
years.
So you guys dated 2 years. I dated, by the time we got married, it was about a year and a half, so a little bit shorter time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, do you take the chance of spending so many years dating someone, being involved with someone, and then you're still married to the representative only to find the real person? Like, that's always a question in my mind. Like, when does the representative sit down and the real person really stand up?
Yeah.
Um, and like you mentioned, a lot of the times, no matter what the situation was, the guy always gets a lot of the flack of why the relationship didn't work. But like, you should have made it work. But at the same time, people who are not in that situation, who have not been in that situation, they have to understand it takes two people to fight together, not against each other, to be moving in that same direction. And so some of that I feel like we'll get into it in the conversation. Um, not necessarily a lot of guilt, but maybe a lot of responsibility ends up being on the shoulders of whichever party, more times than not the man. But that may not always be the case.
Yeah, I agree. And before I made the decision to file for divorce, because I'm the one that filed for divorce, I had us in therapy and counseling for almost 3 years, together and separate. And there was just never any desire on the other partner's end to change anything.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, and simultaneously, I was losing my father while I was going through a divorce at the same time. So,
Yeah. And that is a like dual complexity that not many can understand. To be having serious struggles in your relationship, your marriage, and then to also be losing the one of the main people in your close knit family. And you guys were such a close and tight family, doing so much that y'all did together just on a daily basis. Like y'all were packed, y'all were tight.
yeah.
Um, and so how did that play into with your dad being ill during that time and you going through that divorce? Was there support that was given to you? Like, I know we going through it right now, but I'm still here for you. Like, what did that look like?
I had, thankfully, I grew up in a very strong faith community. So I've always believed in reaching out to the elders,
Mm-hmm.
not just any elders, because
Mm-hmm.
you have some elders that are fools. So let's make sure
Come
that
on. It's
just
one thing to be a fool, but it's one thing to be an old fool.
just because you're older doesn't mean that you're wise. So I reached out to the right elders who watched my dad grow up, who guided him, and watched me grow up and guided me. And I was angry with God. I straight up told him, I said, God, I don't like you. He basically told me, so do you trust me? So I
Yeah.
never committed blasphemy. I never told him I don't believe in him. I just told him I don't like what you're doing, but I'm gonna trust you anyway.
Yeah. Was your um was your wife at that time able to provide you any support?
Oh no. And that's
No.
the thing. I even told her that I don't know right now. I told her like I need help. I wasn't just silent. I told her, hey, I don't know what to do. I need help. I'm lost. Thank God I never wanted to commit suicide, but I told her, hey, I don't want to be here right now. I don't even know if I'm here. So I
Yeah.
reached out to her, but that
It was
support,
already
yeah,
the connection was already broken.
yeah. I was still going home every day,
Yeah.
and let me make this known. And this is not to try to clear anything with her or anything. This is
Yeah.
just to be a testament to the men out there that I still stayed faithful through everything.
Yeah.
It was a sexless marriage. She used to think it was okay to put her hands on me, all of that. And now, did I find myself flirting with at one point? Yeah. I didn't like it. And I was honest with her. Are you flirting? Yes. But I wasn't going out trying to have sex. I wasn't going out to dates and dinners and buying anything. I still came home. I was still having to take care of a child that wasn't mine. I still did my duties,
Yeah.
in spite of everything that was going against me. So
Yeah.
it is possible to stay faithful. You just have to want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And a level of self-control that a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't display, man or woman. It's like once they see that something's not working out, they're like jump ship completely and
Mm-hmm.
move on to whatever else they feel like they want to do. So, for sure.
Because one of
Um
the things, if I may, one of the things that really helped me stay connected was I understand every day is a blessing. And when you're going through the hard things and the hardest things, you auditioning for your bigger blessings. I didn't want to block my bigger blessings coming in life by just being a maniac because everything was heavy on me. So
yeah.
that's one thing that we need to continue to understand and learn is you auditioning for your future big blessings by staying calm and staying in control. You're
Yeah,
not
for
losing anything by it.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to know that we can have those big and hard feelings
Mm-hmm.
with God in terms of not understanding what he's doing and losing a parent or losing a marriage. I think people sometimes they often say, like the older generation, don't question God. I'm not questioning him per se. I know his character is good. I know his plans for me are good, but this right here don't feel real good.
Mm-mm.
So you got to help me walk through this and understand that I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. I'm frustrated. I don't understand. I
Mm-mm.
thought this is how things were supposed to turn out. but I think God is big enough to handle all of those feelings and emotions.
Oh
We
yeah.
can throughout the Bible and see where Christ wept, where he was angry, where he was frustrated, where he was disappointed, where he was sad, where he was hopeful. And so I don't feel like as believers we have to mute any of those feelings,
Hmm.
but that honorably and respectfully we can bring them to God, and he can help us process through those
Yeah.
situations for sure. So let me ask you this. How has that season of your life impacted how you look at relationships moving forward, whether it's romantic or not romantic? It could be family relationships. How has going through that experience of being engaged, being married, and now divorced, how does that kind of change your trajectory on relationships?
Oh, I can sum it up easily. I study more now.
Mm,
That's all of it. I study myself. I study the other person. I study their surroundings. Studying the Bible, or just basically just sitting back and learning what. Because we were taught watch, fight, and pray.
hmm
But until you experience certain stuff, you really start to understand what watch, fight, and pray means.
Right.
So you watching habits, you watching tempers, you watching the ups and downs. You fighting temptations, you fighting yourself, you fighting away those things, and then you pray, which basically you talk to God about everything. So those three things really just started getting stronger during and after I experienced all this. Like now, okay, now you just can't just say anything to me and I'm gonna fall for it. It's like, nah. Are you the main thing is, are you doing what you're asking of me to do? And if you're not doing what you're asking me to do, then it's on to the next, no questions asked.
Yeah. Reciprocity for sure.
And that's on business, that's relationships, that's anything. If you can't do what you're asking me to do, I don't need to be involved with you at all.
Yeah. I would say I feel like anybody who's gone through divorce, you all didn't have any biological children, but you were a male role model and a father figure to her child.
Mhm.
There is such a mixture of emotions, and people are like, "Oh, you just copped out, you got divorced." People don't understand the complexity of not only breaking away from that marriage, but you break away from that child. Sometimes you maintain that relationship, but I would it it varies definitely based on the individual and the
Yeah.
parent that's involved. But there's such a breaking and a tearing away. They say like you're always becoming one, but man, that coming back apart is tough. Like
Oh yeah.
people compare it to a death, and it is similar in essence to that because there's so many hopes and wishes and dreams
Hmm.
that are dying and also relationships that are dying. Yeah.
Definitely. And another thing that I want to urge people who want to get married or who currently are married, don't be in a rush to have kids with the people you're married to. Because my ex-wife, my wife then, I told her, I said, I want to wait about 5 or 6 years before we decide to have one.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did because
Yeah.
I didn't live in a split household. My parents, before my dad died, was 37 years strong.
Yep.
And when he passed, nobody popped up tried to say this was my lover. Nobody tried to pop up and say this was my father. When I said that man had a clean record, man had a clean record. He took
Yeah.
pride in one woman, man, and taking care of his family. So that's one of the many things I've always wanted to attain of him.
Yeah. And I think it's on that same page. I think it's very important that if people do not want kids,
Mm-hmm.
that they should verbalize that. That was my experience of a lot of, yes, sure, that sounds great. I'd love to have more. And then when the situation presented itself, it was like, oh no, I mean, figuratively speaking, yes, I would want more, but in reality, no, I don't want any. And so I think it's very important that people are clear with their boundaries and their expectations so that people don't keep dating their representative and they really get to meet that real person.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of started leaning in that direction. How have you, whether it's your family or your friends, how have you provided any hope or support for someone who may have experienced something like going through divorce?
The biggest thing that I can think of is I continue to better myself through everything. took my health serious. I'm down almost 100 pounds since last year. Did that naturally, and I didn't go to any drugs. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't smoking. I wasn't going out having sex. I just chose to just start doing more self help stuff through everything. One thing that I've come to accept, and this next thing I'm getting ready to say, we all know. We just don't want to accept it. It's just as easy as it seems to go out and drink, smoke, go have sex with a bunch of people. It's just as easy to pick up a book and go exercise and
Yeah.
drink and mind your business. It's
Yeah.
just TV, radio, and movies have taught us self destruction when you're angry and mad. That's
Yeah.
really the best time to do self preservation.
That's a great point, especially from a male perspective, because um when there's that gap in that hole, we tend to
Mm-hmm.
try to fill it with something.
Mm-hmm.
Um and 9 times out of 10, our initial run isn't to prayer, it's not to God, it's not to improvement, it's just to something to soothe this that I'm feeling. And so we end up going to people or drugs or clubs or alcohol or what have you, promiscuity, anything like that, um, to try to fill that hole and that hurt that we feel. But like you said, that's the greatest time that we can really lean into evaluating ourselves, recognizing things that we can improve. Like you said, nobody's perfect in a marriage. We may not have done anything quote unquote wrong, but there's no perfect person in a marriage. And so there's always things that you can improve, and build upon, and strengthen during those times when you
Oh yeah,
find yourself doing that self evaluation.
yeah, because nobody can make you go do anything destructive. That's a choice.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Now,
Can you talk a little bit just about your weight loss journey? What prompted that, in terms of after your father passing, after your marriage ending? What kind of was the catalyst for that, for you to say, "Look, I got to do something different"?
well, before both of those events happened, my weight is something I've always fought. I was always up and down. Let's see, seventh grade, I was 5'7", 315 with a full beard. So,
Okay.
in our family, we are naturally stout people.
Yeah,
So,
we
but
not petite people.
mm-mm. but I had gotten up to my highest recorded was 396. Well, visually, but my biggest was 415. And one day I was sitting on the couch, and I just heard that voice say, "Get up." The
Yeah,
voice said, "You can sit here and watch TV for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. You can be on the phone gossiping for 4 or 5 hours. You can be out drinking and partying for 10, 12 hours. Why can't you get up and walk for 30 minutes?"
yeah,
And that's how I started. I ended up walking for 365 days straight. Even if the weather
yep,
was bad, I would set a timer. I'd grab a book and just walk around my apartment for 30 minutes straight. Even when it was iced outside, I drove my then family at the time to my brother's house. That was scary. Drove us on the ice to safety, but my brother came to me and said, "Hey, you going walking today?" I said, "No." He said, "Why not?" I said, "It's ice on the ground." He just shook his head like this. 5 minutes later, he came back. He gave me combat boots, thermal pants, a thermal shirt, a thermal jacket, a thermal hoodie, and a walking stick. He said, "Get your butt out there."
yeah,
So he wouldn't let me quit. And even when Pops, that's what I call Dad, even when Pops was in the hospital, I went and walked around the hospital. The day of his wake, I got up and walked. The day of his funeral, I got up and walked. So I refuse to stop.
yeah. And
I,
that's just
I,
a level. That's just a level of self determination and discipline that I feel like our generation and the generations after us, maybe some before us, tend to lack. Usually, when something gets old or we just don't feel like it, we quit it, we're done, we're moving on to the next thing.
yep.
But that's just to applaud your determination in that, to not only help yourself physically, but mentally and spiritually as well, for sure. Absolutely. I wanted to ask one more question. What is something you would encourage the men who have gone through a divorce, um, on how to kind of move afterwards? So let me give you an example. So sometimes when men are facing, I'll say from a woman's perspective, when there's a divorce that happens, men are often seen to quickly move on or move forward with another relationship, whereas women take a little bit more time or a little bit more introspective. What is, I guess, the insight of a man, in that arena, in that perspective.
You mean insight on what a lot of men do
Yeah.
after divorce, or what they should do?
Let's do what they do and then what they should do.
All right. Unfortunately, you know, and it's not to take anything away from the women and what I'm about to say next, but we don't bring up what happens to men a lot. Young boys are sexualized too.
Okay.
We are very, very sexualized. Maybe not to the magnitude of young girls,
Mhm.
because our clothes look different than girls' clothes,
Mhm.
this and that. But a lot of us are taught that if we don't know how to use what's between our legs, we're not worth anything.
Okay.
And so a lot of times that's what we revert to first, is because that's what we know we'll get gratification from first.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of men know we can control women to a certain degree with that.
Okay.
So we know that that's a weapon, and we know that that's accepted. So a lot of times it's easy. It seems easier to go that route,
Mhm.
but not realizing that you're really causing self harm and self destruction, leading with your man parts instead of with
Yeah.
your brain.
Yeah.
So
That
and a
makes
lot, yeah,
that makes
and
sense. And I don't think we think about it a lot um because of our culture. I think it's coming to light a tiny bit more just with
mm-hmm.
different situations that are currently happening in music culture, social culture. Some of those things are coming to light in regards to what happens to men and young boys. But that's a very great perspective. I don't think I would have considered that
Yeah,
initially.
and then also when we're little, we're taught shut up and get over it, man up,
Okay.
and then we get told go seek help. Well, which one do you want us to do?
Yeah. Sit up here
Then
and be quiet and go get some help.
and then a lot of times when we do speak up, it is really not listened to.
Okay.
And notice I'm not saying about women, I'm just saying in general.
Okay.
Because that society's mentality is, oh, you're a man, you figure it out, get over it.
So I watched Love is Blind, just a couple snippets, and one of the guys said on there, like, I'm talking, but you're not hearing me. And the lady was like, I'm hearing you, but I don't know what you need me to do. Like,
Yeah.
give me some information. And so, do you think um sometimes it's hard to articulate what exactly you need? Like you mentioned with your ex-wife, you were like, I don't know if I'm coming or going, up or down. I just need some help. Are you guys looking for us to come in with a solution? Are you coming looking for us to be a presence, just to be there physically, and cry when you cry and support you when you need support? Like, what does that look like?
Well, for each relationship is different. So I can't sit here and just make a brash generalization
Right.
because communication styles are different, and men
Right.
and women, we speak different. We can say the same thing, but it's going to come out
Right.
totally different. But for my case, then that was my wife. I lost my father. I'm telling you, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
There should have been a willingness to find somebody who could help you translate what I'm saying,
Okay.
especially if I'm telling you I'm not here. I feel dead. I feel lost. I don't know what to do. As a married couple, you should want to do the best you can to help your spouse out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, dating, that's a different story. You technically don't have to do anything for the person. But if you're married, if one of y'all hurt, both of y'all should be hurt. But both
Yeah.
of y'all can be hurt at the same time. I'm not saying that the other person shouldn't have feelings. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But if I'm sitting here dying, you can't be
We can't
sitting here dying.
both be dying.
No, we can't. Like, no.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was some point she wanted to make it about how she was feeling about my dad. And I'm looking at her like, that was my father, right?
Yeah.
Like, thank you, but no thank you. Can we, and especially I'm not a selfish person either. I
Yeah.
don't act like, but if I need you, I need you. Because if you need me, I'm there. I don't expect her to be the exact same as me because nobody's going to be alike. But if you hear your partner saying, I don't know what to do, I don't want to be here, I'm sure there's somebody you can reach out to be like, hey, my partner is saying this, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So both being a physical presence and actually finding a
Yeah.
resource.
Mm-hmm.
Because someone may not be able to communicate exactly what that help looks like. Okay.
And then unfortunately a lot of times because men and women are emotionally different,
Mm-hmm.
Both of us are emotional. We're just different. It's a
Mm-hmm.
different style of being emotional. A lot of times when we say something, it's met with, well, I think you should do this. Did you listen to what I said? Like, did you? Because if I don't listen to what you say, you're gonna have a whole hissy fit
Yeah.
for 3 or 4 days until I get it. Like, no, that can't be. I'm not saying don't have your feelings. I'm not saying don't take your time to digest.
Yeah.
But both parties can't be like that.
Yeah.
That is very counterproductive.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to, if the woman wants to be able to express herself, the man needs to be able to express himself too. Now, I'm not saying let him be violent. I'm not
Right.
saying let him be disrespectful. I'm not saying any of that. All that should be shut down.
Right.
But if he's genuinely trying to tell you, get out of your way and do your best to listen.
Yeah.
And another thing that I had to learn to practice is before the conversation gets started, I like to ask, like with my current lady that I'm seeing now, we would ask each other, hold on, I see you getting ready to say something important. Do you want me to listen or do you want advice?
Yes. That I think is it helps the person who is listening
Mm-hmm.
to know what space they need to be in,
Mm-hmm.
and it sets the expectation of how I should respond, because that takes like the guesswork out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Without that conversation and those initial questions, you just sitting there like trying to read the other person's mind, like, okay, I think they want some help, but I don't know if they really want help from me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna just kind of chill back over here. And a lot of times I have heard and realized in marriage, there's a lot of expectations that people have, but they're all living up here and they're
Mm-hmm.
never communicated, which is the breeding ground for a lot of frustration, a lot of resentment, and a lot of bitterness. And then when the arguments come up, it's like, well, you never did X, Y, and Z. It's like, I didn't know I was supposed to do X, Y, and
Exactly.
that was never communicated. I didn't know that was an expectation. And so yeah, that's definitely like a golden suggestion right there for sure.
And another thing we like to do, if I know her schedule is busy, hectic, and mine was hectic, but we need to talk about something important, we'll ask that question and we'll also ask, what is your battery level?
Yeah.
Like how much of you do you have available?
Yeah.
And if it's not a lot, then I'll wait.
Yeah.
I'm not going to seek to another woman to seek what I need that I know she can provide. Now, if it's something that I try to tell and she be like, well, can you go talk to your mom or sister about that and then we can discuss it later?
Yeah.
Then but I don't go seek validation from any other woman. That's something I learned watching my dad. He didn't do that.
Yeah. And I think what you said was crucial. Battery levels, energy levels, how much
Mm-hmm.
bandwidth do you have? And I know you can provide me this once your battery is full.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to go elsewhere. That is critical because men and women alike tend to find various relationships that fit all the variety of their needs
Mm-hmm.
instead of letting that one person they're committed to get full on their battery, get a full charge, and then they can give me all of these things that these five people give me individually.
Mm-hmm.
I have in that one person if I could just be patient.
Yeah, one of the main things that I love about the woman I'm with now is if I frustrate her, she runs straight to the Bible. She will tell the Holy Spirit on me in a heartbeat. She will tell the Holy Spirit, He did this to me. I don't like it. She's not running to other dudes. She's
Yeah.
not really running to her girlfriends either. And vice
Yes.
versa. If she does something, like I'm not sitting here running to another woman, I'm not telling her, hey, well, she doing this. Can you do this? No, I don't have time for all that.
Yeah.
I don't. So we both really go seek help from God if we irritated with one another. We're not out here trying to find satisfaction for someone else. That's just childish.
Yeah, and I think that's important in marriages for sometimes people come in with pre-developed friendships and relationships, but
Mm-hmm.
at the point you decide to be married to someone else, those relationships are no longer primary. And so,
Yes.
based on the person you're with, in an exclusive relationship or married to, those outside relationships sometimes have to change,
Mm-hmm.
shift, what have you. So, even if my best friend, when I was married, my best friend would be like, "Girl, you married? I ain't calling you after 9:30 unless somebody is, in some serious trouble."
Yep.
And so, people have to ebb and flow with those relationships in an effort to honor the person that they're with. It's
Yep.
not a matter of control. It's not a matter of manipulation, but we're simply trying to honor that other person. And if that friendship can't get on that program, sometimes they got to go to the side. But
Yep.
that person and that relationship has to be willing to be doing that on both sides, for sure.
Yes. See,
So,
majority of my male friends are married.
yeah. Okay.
They're married or have been married.
Okay.
And out of respect, we naturally be like, hey, just like you said, after a certain time, I won't call them.
Yeah. No.
Like, I'll text them, hey, you up? But I don't call them. And I grew up with a lot of female friends. And one thing I can honestly say, I have never slept with any of my female friends.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted them to be in for the long haul. I knew I wanted them to be important.
Yeah.
So I never crossed the line with
Cross that boundary.
them. And one thing that my girlfriend is understanding now is uh, a lot of them get pushed to the side automatically. Like I'm not worried about them.
Yeah.
None of them on my emergency contacts.
And that and that
Like
puts her in a position where she doesn't even have to be worried about
exactly.
those kind of conversations and those kind of situations,
Hmm.
which brings another level of just safety and
Hmm.
security, which all women are looking for.
And
So,
if anybody calls, it can be female friend, male friend, brother, sister. If she's by my phone, I'll let her answer it. I don't care. And if
yeah.
for some reason she feels like she needs to pick up my phone and go through it, I'll walk out the other room.
Yeah.
She probably gonna beat me up for what I'm about to say, but this is
Let
just
me
the
just
level.
say, before you say whatever you're about to say, let me just say,
Go
in the
ahead.
state of Texas, that is now a felony. So I'm gonna
Really?
just put that out there in
Oh,
terms of going through your spouse's phone. So we're not suggesting that, we're not recommending it. If that's
yeah,
what y'all want to do in y'all's
yeah,
relationship, do that.
yeah. That's just yeah. I understand it, but that's just me. Like
Yeah,
I remember the first time she was on my phone, just looking, and she's not even the type to go dig. So let me make sure I put that out there.
yeah,
She not looking. She not trying to snoop. It's just if you curious and I'm with you, you curious, especially if you're not displaying any narcissistic, you know, traits. I don't
yeah,
care. Like to me, it is just a phone. I don't. But I showed her something on I think Instagram, and I was like, "Hey, I need to go to the restroom." And I walked off and left my phone. She was like, she said, "You want this?" I said, "No." I went in the restroom.
yeah.
Dudes, when we go to the restroom, we in there for for a minute. I came back out. She's still just holding the phone like this. Like
You ain't gonna come get this?
she's like, "Do?" I said, "Did anybody call?" No. I said, "Okay, if somebody called, just answer." She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I don't. I'm one of those people. I don't have anything to hide. It's not, and I'm not that type to go delete anything either. Like I'll leave it there. And if for some
Yeah,
reason she has a question, I'm calmly answering, and vice versa. If she's chatting with somebody and I'm like, okay, who's this person? She calmly tells me, hey, this is somebody from church, blah blah blah, blah blah. And I wish more people would be that way because if you
yeah,
truly don't have anything to hide, why are you getting angry?
yeah, yeah. Transparency and
Yes.
openness
If you
are,
really don't have anything to hide, why does it matter if your partner has a code to your phone?
yes,
Right.
transparency and openness are the gateway, I feel like, to safe communications,
Mhm.
security, and just a good, healthy relationship,
Yep.
for sure. So we're gonna kind of transition to the end of our interview. Um, you are already in that dating space. I have not moved into that dating space because I have a little one that I'm still um growing up and helping him learn, and he's teaching me lots of things. And so when did you feel like after divorce you were ready to move into that space?
Honestly, it took me about a year.
Mhm.
Like I had jumped on, like Facebook dating, but on my profile I put just conversation. Like I was clear, hey, I'm not here looking for anything concrete. I'm just looking to talk. I even put some of my business stuff, so I gained a lot of customers through the dating sites. But I was, hey, I was honest with the women on there. Hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is not what I'm looking for. If you don't like this, I understand. And it wasn't a manipulation tactic or reverse
Yeah.
psychology. Like, hey, this is all I can give. This is what I'm looking for, and if this is not for you, I'll politely walk away.
Yeah.
And then the person that I'm with now, uh, Uh, she is a product of my self work, and vice versa. I am a product of her self work on herself. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna put her
Good.
business out there, but she's been through some things like we all have.
Yeah.
We've been really good friends since 2015.
Wow.
So thankfully, the person came along that I was already familiar with.
Yeah.
So we already
That's
had a
great.
natural chemistry. We already have our individual relationships with God.
Yeah.
We both understand and want to take it slow. And like I mentioned earlier in the conversation, the things that she asks of me, she already does,
Yeah.
and vice versa. The things I ask of her, I already do. And so, do we still have our challenges? Yes, because communication is a constant
For sure.
tug of war. It don't matter how long you've been together.
Yeah.
Communication is going to be a constant tug of war. But thankfully, somebody re-entered my atmosphere out of nowhere too. I did not even see this one coming. But I wholeheartedly believe she came at the time she did because when I was going through what I was going through, I decided to stay a decent man.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that if I would have told her, hey, I was out here doing this, doing that, sleeping around, doing this, she wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her. I don't care how strong the chemistry is.
Yeah.
So I believe that she is a product of my faithfulness to God
Mm-hmm.
and just being good to myself
Yeah.
instead of being out here self-destructive. And also, uh, there was many sayings my dad had growing up, but this one really stuck with me over the years. He said, "Your name."
Say that part one more time. Just I think it may have cut out
Oh,
just a little bit.
I said, my dad used to tell me, your name is my name, and my name will have no stain.
Mm.
And whatever you do to my name, I'm gonna do to you.
Yeah.
And just because he's gone doesn't give me the right to stain his name
Right. For sure.
and the reputation and the legacy that he has here forward.
Yeah. For sure. And I think what you said at the end will kind of close out with that. That's kind of where my heart has been through good times and bad times in terms of divorce, through attempts of co-parenting, parallel parenting. I'm going to choose to be true to myself in the fact that I will continue to honor God
Mm-hmm.
in whatever that looks like, however hard that might be, even when I want to throw in the towel or throw some bows.
Oh yeah,
um, I'm going to choose to take that higher ground. It may not be what everybody thinks I should do. It may not be what the situation looks like I should do,
yeah.
but I'm going to choose to do that because I know in the end, by me honoring God, God is going to return that in however he chooses to, whether that be health, whether that be provision, whether that be another relationship, whatever that looks like. I want to make sure my heart is in the right place so that whatever God is bringing, I'm ready and open to receive that. So,
Yeah.
I go ahead.
There's
You're gonna
one
say
thing
one more
that
thing?
there's one thing I want to tell the fellas out there. Women will always be here. Don't be in a rush. If you don't know what to do, go to the gym, drink water, read your Bible, pray, and mind your business.
Mind your
Mind your
business.
business, drink water, pray, seek God, and watch how your life changes.
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you again for joining me for this interview. Thank you to those who are listening on the podcast or either watching now on YouTube. This will be up on YouTube for those who can go back and watch the replay. So thank you for joining us. I want you to know that this is a space you can always come to get hope, inspiration, and encouragement. Know that you won't be the first person walking through these challenges in life, and you definitely won't be the last. So if you need some hope, this is a place you can come because hope lives here. Thanks. Okay. I think I stopped it. Oh, no, I didn't. That's okay. I could cut this part out.